It has been a little while since we've all been here under one roof. We've been gone for a couple of weeks. We did have part of our Italian job series. I don't know why the music isn't playing. But we have finally made it back onto circuit. And trust me, it is the Red Bull Ring. Alright? Don't let the graphics fool you. I can assure you it is the Red Bull Ring. I completely forgot we had a race this week, so I forgot to send Mullock a little DM asking for those. But it's good to be back, and on a circuit that we haven't raced at before here in the OR, as far as I'm concerned. Red Bull Ring, one that I've driven on a little bit. I'm still getting used to it, but I do thoroughly enjoy it. And we seem to have 18 drivers who also find that sentiment to be shared. But hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be and whenever you may be seeing this. My name is Nick Amon and I want to welcome you back to the Simrigs Sprint Series Round 5. We've got a super sprint on for tonight, 2 races, 30 minutes each, and a little bit of qualifying that we'll be doing, of course, here in just about 5.5 minutes. Hopefully you've all been well. It is always nice to be back, and of course, being back means one thing and one thing only: highlights from round 4 at Laguna Seca, another super sprint. That was 20 and 40, though. Drivers were very eager to get out there at Laguna Seca, always a fan favorite. I enjoy running it myself. I'd definitely put it at the very least in my top 10. Top 5's a little bit more reserved, but this was the first qualifying drivers were going to have for the evening. Like I said, 2 races on the schedule for the last time out, so a couple of chances to get a healthy amount of points. Any mistakes you might make in race 1, well, hopefully you don't make them again in race 2. But double the length, of course, does mean double the odds of something going north or south. And of course, the corkscrew is a prominent feature, and one that drivers did have a little trouble with, surprisingly. You'd think a circuit as popular as this one would probably have a little bit of a better foundation sorted skill, but Loverink looking to add to the win counter. Won the last race at Donington Park, 2 on the season so far, which is weird. Usually we see him just sort of walking away with this, but he's had a little bit of trouble with the Audi. Someone who was looking to continue this success, Portis in the Honda. I mean, come on, I've talked a lot about him just sort of being in that thing. And of course, Jonathan Clifford, he has almost been giving Loverink a little bit of a run for his money. Has been a lot quicker this season compared to those in the past, especially against someone as potent as Loverink. But he would be very, very comfortable in this race. And of course, his qualifying would showcase that. There wasn't a lot that went on in qualifying, though. Surprisingly, it was a pretty tame one. Usually we're seeing drivers pushing it, although one driver who did push it was Hernandez, coming up to the penultimate corner, just going right over the inside curb, and does get a little bit of a love tap from Lemaire. Lemaire, I guess, trying to help him out, but it wasn't really going to happen. We did see just a corner before as well, I believe Nelson almost saves it. Full lock right, full lock left, but just a little bit too much. Had to, unfortunately and involuntarily, park it up on the side. He was able to get that car righted, but that was pretty much it for qualifying, as drivers were slowly coming in and parking up for the remainder of it, getting their best lap times in, and calling it a day. And Sanchez, the last one, of course, to get posted up in the pit lane, and that would give drivers a chance to get their final setups ready. As we go into race 1, though, Loverink on pole, Clifford right behind him. So 2 very familiar faces at the top of the sheet. Everyone else filing on through as we do get ready for that first parade lap of race number 1. Loverink would only have to survive 20 minutes. Your standard pub lobby time, but with some of the drivers that are present on this roster, it's not the easiest thing. Even being a part of one of sim racing esports top organizations, it can always go a little bit sideways if you're not careful. Varying levels of confidence too. And we come down the corkscrew, the calmest it will ever be. Get to take a look and see maybe a preview of how everyone's going to take it. Slightly different lines as we come down for the first of many. But race soon goes green, with Loverink leading the field off as we come up and over the top of the hill right on the front straight. You can see the pack behind him, still very tightly knit. Clifford tries to go a little bit later on the brakes into turn number 1, is not going to be as successful. That invited Landry onto the inside, but using a little bit of the gravel to get a slightly better exit for Clifford. But we got to go back a little bit because things were not all clean in the back. So 3 wide here between Stapleton, Nelson, and Migliori. Nelson getting a little bit of a touch one way, then the other, then onto the gravel would spin him towards the very tail end of the field. And that invited Waters into this, and he tried to make the most of it, gaining a couple of spots. He was very conservative at the start, but coming through, just stepping out on the back end of the Lambo. Off onto the right, a little tap of the wall, very similar to what Nelson did. He was able to get back going again. But Lanham soon found himself with Fernandez all over him. As Fernandez goes on the inside, there's a little bit of a touch, and they both use each other to kind of right the ship. That scares Sanchez off, who goes into the grass, or into the gravel rather. And that does allow Hasser a bit of a position gain, but it looks like Fernandez had a change of heart and let him through. Now Sanchez decides that he wants a little bit of action here. Hard sends it into the corkscrew. Just slams into the side of Fernandez using the Forza braking line. Definitely some words exchanged off of that one. But pushing forward, we do have a little bit more action from Lemaire and Sanchez coming up to the corkscrew. A recovery drive for the 21 as he looks to the inside. And he's just going to be a bit braver on the brakes, catching right up to Hasser. Does get the job done, but he spins himself out, and a little tap there from the Ferrari gets him going back in the right direction. Fernandez takes advantage of that and just says, thank you very much. I will take your position. You're not using it now. Lanham spins himself at the kink just before Corkscrew comes across, and this is sort of in the meantime of everything else happening. So he had to get himself sorted out and get back into the fight. We do get to see Lanham getting himself back up through the field rather quickly, as he does go side by side here under the banner. He's going to try to swing it wide, and he does make it work with a little bit more speed. Gets the power down, a lot more stable of an exit. And he will get that position done. Drives it hard and heavy around the outside. Now moving forward again, Sanchez with a very familiar BMW in front of him. So a slightly weird entry and exit for Hernandez does set up the McLaren for a shot. He's going to use the entire length of the front straight into the braking zone. I think Hernandez just outbraked himself and invited the 21 through. He'll take advantage of that, just presses on and looks forward to another position gain. Now we look further up the field. Frizza and Rasco, two very familiar drivers here in North American Sprint, doing battle through turns 1 and 2, side by side, barely anything between them, except a little touch there to keep things interesting, but thankfully nothing else really came of it. You can see Fernandez trying to take advantage of the situation if he can. He has caught up and just looking for any sort of opening that he can. So we continue on, but re-aggression there from the Ferrari on the inside. And that would seal the deal coming up to the kink. Not much of an issue there. But this would not be the only time that Frizza and Rasco would have to fight for a position. As we do see up ahead, there is the Ferrari of Frizza going a bit wide. Rasco does take advantage of that. They make contact. That pushes Rasco out wide, and Fernandez actually decides that he's going to get a part of this. Later on the brakes, into the corkscrew, sends it quite wide, somehow doesn't spin the McLaren despite bouncing all over the place. Very lucky about that. I don't know how. Usually the McLaren kills you when you try something like that. But it wouldn't be just this. It's Fernandez coming back for contact on the way. Just a slight touch. Was not expecting the Ferrari to brake as early as it did. He tried to wait up, give the position back, but unfortunately that was not going to happen. So he just carried on. But this was the closest Clifford was going to get to Loverink rather, all night. And it was right on the final lap of the race. He gets side by side with the Audi, but has a longer line to work with. Waters is just ahead of him. But Waters would not really assist the Lamborghini in any sort of way, just getting off the circuit, getting out of the way. But yeah, that was the closest that Clifford was going to get. And by the time we get to the final corner, that gap has pretty much gone back to exactly where it was before. So Loverink won the first race at Laguna Seca. Now, normally when we do these super sprint races, and we'll actually get the standings here very quickly, or the results rather, for race number 1. Of course, it was Loverink, then Clifford, Landry, Wilson, Portis, Keogh, Rasco, Fernandez, Bandera, and Frizza. Now, normally when we do these super sprints, you go, hey, qualifying number 2, it's going to be reverse grid, correct? You would be wrong. We went straight into qualifying as though it was Q1, and Clifford ended up on pole this time, so he had some muscle to show as we do go racing for race number 2. You can see just about 3 wide in the background as Loverink having to play defense there from the Ferrari and the BMW. Closes off the inside pretty well, actually, and for Clifford, that's great news, because while everyone else is fighting, he's able to pull away quite handily, getting sort of the same gap that Loverink had in race number 1, but this time it's all about him looking forward with nothing ahead other than the circuit itself. And everyone else sort of following through as well, but it wasn't all clean whistles, rather, for the start of this race, as Migliori coming up to the corkscrew. Stapleton's just ahead, and I don't know if there was a sort of lapse in concentration or what it was, but brakes very late, and thankfully spins himself and avoiding contact. I know that's probably not how you would want to do it, but, well, rather you spin yourself and not take someone else out. You can see how close that was from Stapleton's point of view. Couldn't have really put anything between them. Maybe an atom or two, if you were lucky. Now, this is quite the exciting exchange. So Lanham goes into the side of Bandera, uses the curb to sort of right himself. That brings up Hernandez Lemaire, and Sanchez as well in the background. Fernandez as well. Off the side goes Bandera. He's got to keep himself sorted. Almost takes out Lemaire and Sanchez on the run up. This will be Fernandez, though, getting a touch on the side from Lemaire. As he was 3 wide. You're going to see it from Lemaire's point of view. Could have been 4 wide, but there's the first bit of contact there. Then the 888 on the inside, and Lemaire just spins himself. It's sort of a bit of a serve from the universe, saying, well, this is your fault. Have fun, buddy. Now, how about a little bit of avoiding action as Waters goes wide? Frizza doesn't have much to really worry about. This is on board now with Portis. He's a little bit closer, and not what he wants. And of course, it's terrible when you're following somebody and you can't really see the car. Lucky avoidance there. And then the Aston Martin here. This is Keogh. He's just going to go the same direction, almost getting picked up there. Great job from everybody. Now, Mercado could not keep himself all too clean as he goes into turn number 1 here. And he is just trying to let someone through. He's a blue flag, but it completely goes wrong. Both of those drivers were able to get back going. And speaking of spins, Hasser did his own little thing, going a little bit too much on the inside, but thankfully executes a perfect pirouette. Does not collect anybody else, and is able to, well, get the car restarted. There's Lemaire and Waters going through. That would be a position lost. And Fernandez, as if there weren't enough spins happening, just a little bit of air on the rear at the corkscrew, would find himself in the wall. He would try to right himself, take a little bit of effort, but he would eventually get going again after letting Pocket through. Pocket in a new livery that for this week, not for last week. But we do see Rasco here spinning off to the side. Just watching that back was hilarious. And almost picking Lanham up as he came back across the circuit to go straight again. Very much a heart-in-mouth moment for Lanham. And Sanchez to the kink. He almost recovers it. Just snaps the other way. Huge bit of contact there. And that was pretty much his race over and done with. Have to go back to the pits to fix up his car. Now, Portis would use the blue flags to his advantage. Stapleton getting in the way of Frizza a little bit. We would go 3 wide, but thankfully Portis with a better exit there is able to catch up, but he is pushed out wide, but he's not going to have to worry all too much because he is on the racing line, and Frizza would just secede the position, giving it over to the Honda. That would be a very, very simple bit of work, but we have to go back a little bit because we do see some more action happening behind after all that was said and done. The player behind choosing which way to go, straight down the inside and just collecting. It was a mess. Thankfully there was the ability to actually grab, or rather give the position back, so you can appreciate that. And then just to round things out, Landry takes one on the champ, on Loverink. Loverink got a little bit wide there at the kink, and Lanham sensing an opportunity, just throwing it down the inside. That would be for position number 2. When was the last time Landry overtook Loverink? I can't tell, but I'm happy it happened. And Clifford completely forgot about him because he absolutely ran away with this race. He does link up with Hasser. And they do a little bit of drag racing here at the start-finish line. And if you are wondering, Clifford did win that. It was by, well, not much. But at the end of race 2, it was Clifford, Landry, Loverink, Portis, Keogh, Frizza, Wilson, Lanham, Rasco, and Lemaire. So there are your highlights for last week's race. And how about we get into this week's race? We are just at the end of qualifying. Sorry we missed it. I had my timing off just by a little bit. But right now, Clifford on top of the pile here. Just about a quarter of a second ahead of Keogh, who's in second, and Loverink all the way down in 4th position. We're going to keep an eye on him, though, because he is rapidly improving. As time is expiring, let's go on board with the Audi. Of course, Red Bull Ring. We've all known about it just because of, well, Formula 1. Speaking of Red Bull, Verstappen is struggling a little bit. Well, I say that, he just won. You notice, it's quite dark, 4:10 a.m. in-game time. Track's still damp, it was raining in free practice, and you can see just what that's doing. This Loverink sliding all over the place. But we are getting onto that front straight, and I gotta tell you, this Delta is looking incredible. Straight to pole position for the 52. Your championship leader. Oh, and Portis also improving at the last second. That's surprising. Portis up to second. 400ths ahead of Clifford. The only person out right now, Scott Waters, 16th. Does he go higher? No, he doesn't, but he does improve. Closes the gap to Stapleton. Bandera not getting a time. Speaking of time, it is now time to do one of my favorite things. And I think everybody knows exactly what that is. And that is, of course, going to be the grid walk. And speaking of time, it's very early in the morning. In game, 5 a.m. Has anybody ever started a race at 5 a.m.? I know we usually drive through 5 a.m. But not that should really have any sort of effect. Oh my god, my focal length is still gross from earlier. But a green track, so slightly better, although I'm not certain how long that's going to last. We may be going pretty safe on the surface. 30 minutes on the clock, though. We'll get one good look at the grid before we get started. But this should be a pretty good race. 2:30 minutes, mandatory stop. It's just fuel, so we should be seeing a lot of drivers just putting in a little drop and then getting out of the pit lane. Loverink on pole. We just saw it, and it's Portis and Clifford. Clifford, surprisingly, after doing a second place and a first place last week, is third, so maybe he's just trying to go through everything before the end of it all. Keogh comfortably there in 4th place, and Wilson is 5th on the grid. Sanchez, 6th place will be where he wants to say. And then the 757 of William Hendrickson. That is a newer driver here in North American Sprint. You do see the Jean Alesi Esports, so maybe, possibly, most definitely, teammate of Loverink's. If that's the case, then he should be up second, but that's a story for him to tell. Hernandez and Hernandez, 8th and 9th respectively. Rasco rounds out your top 10. Then it's Lucas Lemaire in 11th. Craig Pocket with a very good-looking livery, I must say. He's going to be in 12th, and behind him is going to be Nathan Mercado, looking to do better from last week's race. Then on to Nick Stapleton in the 35 Ferrari. Beautiful livery. I use it on my Lambo, so I have to give him extra credit for that. And then, of course, Scott Waters. We saw a little bit of him in the highlights and a little bit of him during the broadcast itself last week. He's going to look to try to improve himself here. Craig Migliori in 16th. Then it's Patrick Nelson. Yeah, sorry about the livery, Pat. It didn't load. I don't know. I think he changed cars and didn't submit a livery, so that's probably why. And then, of course, it's going to be Joel Bandera and Larry Lanham late to the party. But thankfully, he's here. He's going to have to get that setup change done immediately if he wants to not start from the pit lane. But good to see you again, Lanham. Glad you could join us here for the Red Bull Ring. And he is in the pit. Could not do it. But folks, before we get started, of course, quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series, Melbourne, Australia. When have I not talked about them? Anything you could need for your sim rig, well, these guys have got you covered like you would not believe. If you're out of Australia or New Zealand yourself, you are going to be getting everything shipped to you, absolutely no problems at all. But if you're like me or really anybody else and you happen to not live in those countries, if you send them an email, they'd be happy to do some business with you. And if you are supporting this organization via Patreon, you guys are going to be getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so do take advantage of that. Sim racing equipment, not cheap by any means. Even starter wheels are starting to get a little bit expensive. So thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. Back on track, folks. Loverink at the helm of the ship. Everybody else trying to find their place on deck. And for some, like Lanham, stuck in the pit lane. But we should be going green here very soon. I'm ready to see this. I've only run Red Bull Ring on my own in practice. I've never really seen a race. Not to say that it should be too impossible to make happen. We are seeing a little bit of weaving here from the drivers, trying to get a little extra heat in them. Trying to make that start as smooth as possible. And Fernandez down in 8th. He's going to try to redeem himself from last week. You can see Hernandez right behind him, Rasco as well. Lemaire's in the picture, Pocket, and Mercado. This is sorted towards midfield, so probably the most chaotic part. But Ben Keogh doing a great job getting up there in 4th. Same with Clifford, 3rd. Not the first time we've seen him, but certainly he would like to be a little bit further up the field, maybe in 2nd or 1st. William Hendrickson, again, the new driver here in North American Sprint, also from John Lacey Esports. So we'll see if he can keep up with Loverink. And we are just coming up to the final corner now. 30 minutes on the clock, 1 mandatory stop. It's just going to be fuel. So splash and dash is probably going to be the tactic. It should be the same for race number 2. But crawling up to the line. When do the lights go on? When do the flags come out? Nobody can wait, and it's green, green, green here at the Red Bull Ring. Great start there from Loverink. Keogh as well getting a little bit extra boost there. Into turn number 1, some sliding going through the track. Not the greatest there. Out wide does go Wilson. And we saw Sanchez getting a little bit sideways as well. It is Clifford going side by side with Portis up into the next heavy braking zone. Keogh having to fend on the inside. There's a touch there as the Honda goes into 1, then 2. Sanchez, more evasive maneuvers onto the grass here. Let's jump on board with Hendrickson. He's got a great view of all of this. He is going wheels with the McLaren, and he does have that inside line. He could take advantage of this. Does he? No, he's still keeping it even. And Keogh pulling ahead of Portis in the meantime. We'll see if we can spot him. Oh, there it is. Sanchez backs out of that one. So Hendrickson goes up into 5th position. Everybody else has gotten a pretty solid start. There hasn't been a lot of chaos here. And Loverink already starting to run away with this one. Clifford in a very comfortable spot right now in 2nd, but he's going to want to close that gap up as much as he can. Lemaire's here in 12th, and we do see, oh, a big contact. Stapleton grabbing Waters and Migliori. What happened here? What in the world? So let's see if we can spot out Stapleton. So that's odd. Stapleton, the back just steps out. The back just stepped out mid-corner, and Waters, wrong place, wrong time. Same with Migliori. That was a huge hit. So Stapleton's gone. Waters is gone. I mean, at the very least, they can get their pit stop cleared, but that is not how you want to start a race. And Lanham getting through, so he's grabbing some position, starting for pit lane. But what a start. That is awful, but exciting. Let's look back up the field. Portis right now, 4th position, keeping it pretty steady. Sanchez, a lot of pressure actually on Hendrickson, despite giving up the position. Hasn't faltered at all. going to try to keep this one as close as he can. There's Wilson and Fernandez, a line of McLarens, actually. Although Rasco is not having the best of times because he has Pocket rather close to him. And there is the 888 of Hernandez, who is starting to creep up. And he does have a slight run. He's going to lift a little bit before the corner. Doesn't want to try and move very much on the inside for one corner and the next. Got to be careful as you go over that. Don't want to give the car too much air. And he has gotten the exit. Now we're going to go too wide over the start-finish line. Pocket there on the left side. Is he going to back out into the first corner? Yes, he does. But Hernandez sends it wide, gets loose. Pocket playing it perfectly, and now he's going to be on the inside. Could he take this position back? He's going to have to be very brave on the brakes if he does it. He's not perfectly alongside now. He has lifted, but he's going to be later on the brakes. Does the move get done into the corner? Yes, it does. Hernandez with a different line will have more exit speed. Can he take advantage, or can even Lemaire get in on this? Could he gain a couple of positions? That's the big question. Look at how close these guys are. Lucas Lemaire setting up on the inside. It's a very brave move. 3 wide there. Pocket does lose out on that one by a significant margin. And now it is Bandera here as well. The two McLarens arguing more over this position. Hernandez has gotten out of town in the meantime. Has let all of these guys figure themselves out. Lemaire as well is just back. He doesn't want to let the 888 go. Nobody wants to let this BMW go. But he's very just shy on it, Lemaire. Doesn't want to go for the move. Maybe just not enough road to work with. And if you're Hernandez, you've gotten out of that one barely. It could not be any closer. Lemaire may have to go defensive as Bandera doesn't go for a move. Maybe going to play the slipstream game. Speaking of which, Keogh with Portis right behind him will have to defend here. And there's Hendrickson, Sanchez as well, Wilson and Fernandez. I don't know how well the Aston Martin just got out of that corner, but if there's one thing I know is that the Honda has a lot of speed. And he's going to make him go the long way around. Portis will have to find a way to make this one work. Hendrickson also just trying to do a little reconnaissance, figure out where his opponents are slower. In the meantime, Lovrink and Clifford have started to pull away. Portis, another move on the inside. Isn't going to work out. I think he had a little bit of a twitch there. Will lose some speed. You can see Hendrickson drifting as well, almost losing it again. Sanchez now very much right under the Lamborghini's wing, and he'll just run it out wide. Now does Wilson take advantage of that? He is getting squeezed all the way to the outside. A very heavy block there, thrown from the 21. And Fernandez, I think, tried to make it work, but ended up in a very similar situation. So a lot of fighting already going on here. Let's check in with Bandera, who has gotten around Lemaire. This is for position 11. You can see Hernandez already pulling away quite a lot, and Nelson is just going to lose position 14. Mercado, although might have compromised himself, and he has. You can see the speed difference as the BMW just had a much cleaner exit there. Does Mercado counterattack? No, he doesn't. Does not want to try it. All the space for Nelson to try to get a better exit. And right now, it is the 42. Not sitting in the slipstream. Could he go for a lunge from a long way back? No. It was going to be one hell of a send if he made it work. And just parks it right on the apex, and that may compromise his exit a little bit. Got to check back up front, though, as Wilson's starting to feel the heat from Fernandez. He's lost Sanchez ahead of him. Hendrickson's kept the gap pretty stable, and I think Keogh and Portis as well are starting to pull away from this pack a little bit. Oh, and there's Keogh. Big defensive line on the inside. Does not want to give Portis a chance, but the Honda goes around. It's actually going to be the early pit stop for Keogh. Fernandez also coming in. There is no pit window There is no pit window for this race. Drivers can come in whenever they please. Remember, it is only fuel. There is no need to swap tires. There is no need to deal with damage unless you absolutely have to. So these guys are going to be just getting a little bit of fuel in and then getting out. Let's see what Fernandez does, how long he's in the pits for, and then how long Keogh's in the pit for. Actually, quite a long time. I hope everybody looked at what the pit stop guidelines were for this race, because it does say just fuel. It doesn't say anything else. Hernandez and Bandera starting to argue over position 8. A big lunge there for the 69 as he makes a pretty nice move there on the 888. Hernandez, nothing he could have done there. And now it's Lemaire just looking in from outside. Let's join Craig Migliori right now. He's in a bit of a spot, as he does have Lanham ahead, but he's not really close enough for anything. Last lap for Migliori was a 33.63 compared to Lanham's 31.17. I'm assuming that was for Stapleton right behind, who will have to let Mercado through. Let's check in. Oh, this is not what you want if you're Portis. You've got Hendrickson right behind you. The two guys who you want to catch up with are just slowly disappearing into the morning sun. In a slipstream for the 757. He's going to have to go around the outside defensive line for Portis as we head into the braking zone. Can Hendrickson get the move done? He's got a better exit, and I think he has. Hendrickson carrying the speed gets the move done. And now Portis is going to have to play offense here, and he is late on the brakes. Can he bring it in? He taps Hendrickson, and around goes the Lamborghini. I think there may have been a little bit of self-infliction on that. It looked like Hendrickson got a little bit too much on the inside. We're going to roll this one back, see if we can spot that. I think he did just get a little bit too much on the inside. Oh, it's both. It looks like it was both of them at the exact same time. They both... Well, one went on the inside, one just gave him a little tap. So Hendrickson down to 9th as he sits behind Hernandez. You wonder if perhaps he goes in, tries to maybe undercut a bit. He isn't. From one Jean Alesi esports driver to the other, Loverink has been seeing the gap to Clifford slowly decrease. Their lap times are incredibly similar, both doing 28.5s. Although fastest lap does go to Clifford, he is at a 28.075, so very close to breaking that 27 barrier, but it's not going to be an easy feat. That gap's slowly going back up from 0.3 to 0.4. Sanchez with Wilson on the inside. Very similar situation. How did Sanchez not lose that? That was so close. And that gives Wilson a chance to pull right back up. And now he's going to be on the outside. As we head through, Portis up ahead. He's gotten lucky. Sanchez does lose it and somehow hits the one wall that's all the way out there. But it just puts him back in the right direction. That is mildly impressive. Let's watch that again. So it's one touch. Oh, he almost saved that snap. That was so close. And he's somewhere. There he is. Light touch in a high-speed corner. And Sanchez decides to go in with Rasco. Hopefully these guys have been practicing their pit stops. And Lemaire in as well. So we've already seen two drivers. That looked like a penalty. Sanchez, lucky to get away with that one with, well, not a lot of heavy damage compared to other drivers here on the grid. So that is Sanchez, Rasco, Lemaire, Keogh, and Fernandez, all of whom have gotten that first pit stop done. Fixed pit time of 25 seconds. Okay, I did not know that. Thank you. This is why we have the, I call it the pseudo boots on the ground guys. That's all of you. You make my life easier. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. We are carrying on. It has calmed down quite a lot. Oh, Joel Bondera with Hendrickson. Hendrickson's starting to make some moves here. He wants to, well, get some points back for his spin from earlier, and he may do it. Defensive line. Bondera's going in, I think. Looks like he may, and he is. Yeah, he's just sticking right on the inside, so not even much of an issue for Hendrickson, as in the pit lane as well as Wilson. But it has very much quieted down here. Although looking back up, Loverink still with Clifford in tow. That gap opening's half a second. So despite Clifford's best efforts, as Loverink does his best Goomba impression, has not been able to jump him. Last lap, it's still right on the money for both of these guys. 128.1s. And Clifford's lap is 200ths quicker, which is roughly, I think, what it was in the previous lap. So we may be seeing a lot of just Constantina, a lot of stalemating here. We've got Migliori and Mercado in the pits now. And it looks like Loverink and Clifford are going to decide to go in, both of them at the same time. Clifford may actually use this to try to catch up. He's got to be careful, though. Because if it goes wrong, he may... Oh, that was perfect from both of those guys. Right down to 50 Ks at the same exact time. Portis comes in as well. Does Hendrickson come in? Yes, he does. How about Hernandez? He does as well. We look towards Pocket. Does he decide to join the train? And coming into the pit lane. Yes, he does. So it looks like the halfway mark for everybody, and Lanham as well, possibly. That just leaves Nelson. Waters coming into the meantime. Yep, there's Lanham coming in. And Nelson as well. No, Nelson not. Nelson staying out. So it leaves Stapleton to see if they decide to round out the field. Mercado and Nelson were in the pits, were they not? Weird. Doesn't matter. Oh, that's a great shot. Look at the sun just rising. Wait, Clifford actually overtook Loverink in the pit lane? That's huge. That's massive for Clifford. If he can somehow keep the lap time as steady as he has, he could win this first race. But it is a tall order when the might of Loverink towers over you. And there is going to be the BMW of Nelson just ahead. Does this play a factor? Blue flags are out. BMW is going to have to find a good spot to get over. Same with Mercado. And this is not helping Clifford in the slightest. It's holding him up. As I say that, BMW's out of the way. Loverink starting to eye up his choices of overtake, almost scaring Clifford off. It looks like he may have accidentally compromised himself. Mercado is going to have to get out of the way. And it looks like he may come into the pit lane to clear that stop. I don't know why he didn't, unless he went for the tires and no fuel. Hopefully he's read the bulletin. But at the end of the outlap, Clifford leads the race. 12 minutes and 48 seconds to go here. Loverink, the same gap as his opponent. They both go sliding into turn number one, getting it locked down. But it's Lovering getting worse for wear, as that has unfortunately opened the gap up for Clifford. Oh, and you can just, that sounded like a messy corner for Clifford. What is the gap gonna be? It's still about 0.3, just a smidge under 0.4. Battle for the lead of race number 1, and even behind you can see Keogh with Portis and Wilson right behind him. Hernandez, I think, just got around. Yeah, he just got around Rasko. We just missed that one. Lemaire with Bandera. This is the battle for 11th. It looks like the Ferrari's gotten the better of the McLaren. But can he keep it together now? He's got another straight to deal with. Does Bandera regress? No, he doesn't. He's thinking longer term, thinking where is he quicker? It's Mercado and Nelson, two drivers who haven't cleared their stop. They've both gone in, but neither one has officially cleared their pit stop, and they're both going to be playing blue flag right now. Nelson overtaking there for position 16. The sun continuing to rise here at the Red Bull Ring. And you can see 3rd through 7th. What is going on there? That was very, very chaotic, and now there's 5 cars, barely anything between them. That gives Portis a chance to move up. Same with Wilson, trying to also get this position. It is Keogh, defensive line, but may try to get back at Portis. The Honda is going to go around the outside, carry a bit more speed. It looked like he tried to go for a switchback, but decided it was better to just keep going the way he was. Does get that move stapled down, and now Wilson eyeing up the Aston Martin for position number 4 here. I see some tire marks coming out. I think that came out of Portis's Honda, and it's also coming out of the Aston Martin. Keogh fighting a car that generally you don't fight all that much. Usually the Aston's a pretty good starter car from my experience and from what others have said. But right now that thing is looking a little bit jittery. To contrast that with the McLaren stable foundation, and Fernandez as well is back there, but he's not really a threat at the moment. Wilson really trying for this as more slides coming in for Keogh. He's close enough for his slipstream, but I don't think it's going to help. I think his exit was a little bit worse than Portis's. And sliding through turn number 1, that invites Wilson up. And they're going to go side by side now. And if you're Portis, this is great. Let these two fight. Let them figure out who gets to be in position number 4. Into the next braking zone we go. I believe turn 3. It's more like turn 2. It's sort of like Kyalami's turn 2, which is more of a turn 1. Wilson, though, is not able to take advantage of that. So he's going to lose out and start to fall back. Just checking with Lemaire and Bandera. This is still 11th position. Not quite settled. Lemaire, very wide setup, very wide entry there, and that will actually work. You can see he gets the power down a lot better than Bandera, who had that inside line, so that wasn't going to work for him. Hendrickson getting through some traffic and should be catching up to Fernandez soon enough. In the meantime, Lovering's fallen completely off of Clifford. It looks like was that Stapleton behind? I think it was. Yeah, that's Stapleton in the Ferrari. Getting in the way in the Audi, or of the Audi rather. So that has opened it up just under a quarter of a second. The sun continuing to come up. The sunrise in this looks amazing. Molek, I know you're listening. You're going to watch this later. 24-hour race at the Red Bull Ring when, please? The sunrise looks absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of like Kyalami. Well, right back at that. Oh, Sanchez with a drive-through. That's going to be for track limits. So he'll have to clear that. Now, despite Lovering being held up by Stapleton, that gap is coming back down. It's now just barely under half a second. as this race carries on more and more. And for Clifford, this is going to be a very long 7.5 minutes. For Lovrink, it may be a slightly different case. If he can just keep the attacks going, he may be rewarded, but Clifford is not one that you can easily just get out of rhythm. You can see how confident he is. Clifford really just pushing his Lambo as much as he can and using all of the track. Same with Lovrink. Almost asking what track limits are. And if you're Sanchez, you know exactly what track limits would be. Because you've been rewarded with a penalty for your efforts. God, the sunrise looks amazing. I'm sorry. It just looks so, so good. Oh, Wilson, has he gotten around Keo? He has earlier on, but Aston Martin wants some more back. He will have a slipstream, but how well can he actually use it? He is gaining a little bit. Wants to go up the inside. The braking points are going to be the same, but maybe a straighter exit. Stapleton letting these guys through, does not want to get involved. And Fernandez has actually been losing a bit of time, it looks like. He was, well, he was closer, I think, last time we checked in, but this is not what you want. We're starting to see a little bit of stabilization on these gaps here. Clifford and Lovrink coming up to Scott Waters. The blue flag in position 18. He's had a pretty awful start to his evening. The contact earlier being caught up with Stapleton. But he knows he's going to be getting that blue flag, so he should be getting out of the way soon, and he's going to do it right now, well before the corner. Okay, I was going to say, hopefully he doesn't park it right on the apex, because that would absolutely screw Lovrink. Speaking of which, I think... Oh, he's really just right there, under the wing. Does he go for the movie, looking at the inside? The brake point was pushed a little bit farther forward. But Clifford knows better to step out of the way. So Lovrink, prodding for information, is getting it. The problem is he's running out of time to actually do anything with it. Just over 4.5 minutes to go here for race number 1 at the Red Bull Ring. And again, this will set us up for race 2. If I'm not mistaken, should be same as last week's Super Sprint at Laguna Seca. Everybody's out there. Everybody's going for position. No reverse grid unless that has been changed. And it's still these two just fighting for this position. We have a yellow flag out. Did not see who that was. Oh, the 42 of Mercado is off. I think he may have gotten it. He's just struggling. We're gonna give him a little privacy there. I think he may have just gotten a little bit wrong into turn 1, or maybe just letting somebody through and misjudged something somewhere, but that has been not what you want. You're trying to catch Nelson. Back up front, though, Clifford trying to shake the Audi. Look at the speed from Lovrink, like a rocket ship. Goes around the outside, inside line for Clifford. Now it's going to be door to door, a little bit of contact. And I think it will be Lovrink slowly pulling ahead. Does Clifford feel brave enough? Does he go back on the inside? No, he doesn't. Has to go to the outside because Lovrink will cover that off. But maybe the over-under for the 999 could work, but I don't think it did. He got a little bit loose there on the exit. And that is going to be Lovrink retaking the lead here, but he's going to miss the break point. He's going to slide the Audi. And now Clifford could go up the inside here, but he's going to opt against it. Maybe sensing that the front straight is the place to go with that slipstream, but he's got to make sure he gets these last 2 corners perfectly. If he wants to take full advantage of it, he's going to just bob to the outside. Loverink knows that he's not going to do anything. Loverink, so much bravery. Just, he is so in tune with the Audi. He got through that last corner so much better than Clifford. Absolutely, just, it's insane. It is insane to watch Loverink drive. I don't know what he's on, but it has been working out beautifully, and he will retain the position. Oh, and Wilson, rather, getting tripped up by Waters. That gives Keogh some room to run, and he will get the move on the inside, and well before we even get close to the corner. Wilson just under 2 minutes to regain 4th position. Probably not too happy with Waters. It's all about timing. And Portis, he's got nothing to worry about. He continues to just do a little Sunday drive with 1.5 minutes to go. Keogh not getting it as well. I think he lost a little bit of speed, maybe just forgot where to go for the brakes, and well, despite that, Wilson hasn't really pulled in. It's actually starting to fall back a bit, so maybe this move was inevitable and Waters just sped up the process a little bit. We're going to check back in onto the final lap, folks. Loverink leading from Clifford. It's just under 3.5 tenths to go, or 3.5 tenths between them, but no time effectively on the clock by the time they get around. It will be 0. That checkered flag will be out. Clifford's got to figure out where he can make a move, if he even can, because despite being in slipstream range, the 4-ring German car just not giving him anything to work with, although he could have something here. No, I think the acceleration is in Loverink's favor. Clifford can't get him in this race. Maybe in the next one. Maybe we'll see a repeat of Laguna Seca. Although sliding there for the 52. The corners are counting down. Clifford is running out of opportunities, and he's run out of time. The clock hits 0. He's sliding himself. That might have been the nail for race number 1. Although if he can get a better launch here, he could be close enough. Looking to the inside again. Does he try it? He slides again. Loverink, everything for the Audi into the final corner. They both get it amazingly well, but it is going to be Loverink holding on. Clifford, the congratulatory headlights. Great race from the top, too. Really putting on a show. And Portis will come home on the podium. Keogh just barely ahead of Wilson for position number 5. Fernandez goes 6th overall. William Hendrickson, his first race out here in the Sprint Series, will find him 7th position. Hernandez with Nelson in front of him, but Hernandez will get home 8th. Nelson will be down in 16th. We'll see how far he comes down following the penalty that's given. Bandera will be 9th, and Rasco rounding out your top 10. Lucas Lemaire for the 510 Ferrari will get himself a pretty good-looking 11th position. Sanchez, uncharacteristically down in 12th. Not the race he wanted to have. Craig Pocket, with the new colors on his McLaren, will find himself 13th overall here for race number 1. And that just leaves Larry Lanham in 14th, and we should be seeing Mercado coming around soon. 130 seconds for Nelson, so it'll be the exact same thing for Mercado. I don't think Mercado will lose this position. I think he should be safe in 17th, but folks, that's going to do it for race number 1. Clifford and Loverink. 3 tenths between them, so now we move into Q2. And I want to see if this is going to be everybody out. It is. Everybody's out. Clifford's always the first driver out on circuit, regardless of what track it is. Forever and a day, Clifford will always come out of the pit lane first. If you're worrying about what the constants of life are, it's death, taxes, and Clifford being out. So we'll see what the 999 can do. Slightly better conditions. Actually, the track is, yeah, a little bit better. It's greasy this time around. Of course, the track got to, I believe, green. It might have been right towards the end there of race number 1. Still 10 minutes for the qualifying time. You can see the bit of moisture on the circuit. You can see the slightly darker asphalt there. You do see the lighter side. That is, of course, the racing line. And with the sun being out, this should dry things up rather quickly. So by the end of qualifying, we should be seeing some of the faster times coming out. In 10 minutes as well, so exact same format as last time. 10-minute quali, 30-minute race, and same sort of deal with the pit stops. So let's go on board here with Jonathan Clifford for a lap of the Red Bull Ring from one of North America's finest. He's going to brake right at the 100 board, almost losing it there. Just slightly getting offline. You can see him really just wrangling that bull out of turn 1. And now a little bit of time to breathe here. The next big braking zone, another 100 board pedal push. We should be seeing this line for pretty much everybody throughout qualifying here. Under the banner, and another braking zone coming up. If I had to bet on it, it's probably going to be another 100 board. At least if you're wondering how to take this, it's pretty much the same. We get into sort of the trickier medium speed corners. The 50, a couple downshifts. Try to carry as much speed as you can. Upshifting middle corner, almost dropping it there. A little tap on the brake, couple downshifts. Really try to get as straight of exit as possible. That inside curb doesn't have those sausages we see circuit like Misano or Imola. Almost drifting it again. Near the penultimate corner, another wide line. There's a bit of compression there at the final corner. And again, use all of that runoff as you can. Jonathan Clifford will set the first lap at a 1:30.63. Not truly indicative of his pace. So everybody's out right now except for Keo, Lanham, and Mercado. Perhaps making some changes to the setup. Lufrig now, I believe, getting his outlap done. So in the time it took Clifford to get his lap, everybody else is just coming out of the pit lane now as Hendrickson goes fastest with a 30.59. So we're going to be seeing a lot of these blue circles become gray as drivers get onto a valid lap. Portis with a 30.94, so barely inside that 130 barrier. Now we are seeing people like Loverink going up onto provisional pole with a 30.33. I believe the next valid driver is going to be Clifford. You can see some people still having problems. Track limit's a big one here. Clifford, though, with a pretty big improvement right now. Loverink's gone back into the pit, so he's going to make some setup adjustments. The cloud's coming in now, so track has gone green. Clifford gets provisional pole with a 29.76. There's not many laps, it feels like, at the Red Bull Ring, especially with these times. The quali time set. Hendrickson, another driver, improving. Could he take pole position? The Delta says maybe. The Delta saying very likely. As he gets those last two corners done very well. Again, all that runoff. Does Hendrickson take provisional pole? No, he misses it. I think that was this almost the exact same gap that Hendrickson had on Clifford for provisional pole not too long ago. Now, despite quali being half over, or just a bit over that, only 5 drivers have actually set a time, and if everything stays this way, it's going to be a very confusing race too. Bandera decides he's had enough. He's going to go in, set his time. Enough for 4th. Wilson's gone back to the pits, 39.5 or 5.9. Rasco puts in a 30.78. Hernandez with a 30.83, and Portis still worst of the drivers who have set a time. And as I say that, Nelson actually does that. 7/10 behind the Honda. I think Portis might be, yeah, this is an out lap, so we'll leave him alone. We'll let him do his thing. Not going to bother him right now. Let's check and see who of these drivers, Hendrickson, not existing right now, so he's just disappeared into the aether. Stapleton with a 32.99. The pace by a good margin, but we're still not seeing people like Waters spinning off. Waters is having so many problems. Keogh hasn't left the pit yet. Lemaire hasn't set a time. Neither has Lanham. Pocket did, but it didn't count. It was a 1:49. Mercado will not be setting a lap time there. Very wide. And Migliori as well. So drivers certainly having a lot of problems here. We'll see if Migliori's lap... Oh, it won't count because he is on... Or it does count, so he's 13th. Fastest. Sanchez up to P2. Hendrickson coming back into the picture. Good to see you again. You're going to have one out lap and then one more lap to actually set a faster time, so we'll see if he can do that. Rasco goes to 2nd. He was sitting down in 9th, but a 29.51 rockets him up the field. There's a lot of improvements coming, and just looking at all the deltas, Fernandez, he goes from 9th to 4th into the top 5, but does that time stick? He's going to have a couple of laps. Oh, we might go back in. We may be seeing a couple of setup changes as Clifford goes even faster with the 28.64. And his main rival, Loverink, down in 10th position, but he's on a pretty solid improvement. It won't be enough for pole position, but it should put him into the top 3, and it does with 2nd. 29.30, just ahead of Rasco. He'll have this lap and maybe one more to try and get it right. Lanham, 12th position is his at the moment, but as he crosses the line, he'll just step around Wilson for 11th. Other improvements, Bandera right now, a couple of tenths view. It's dropping a little bit. I don't think he got the best corner as Mercado sets a time. There's Stapleton. Bandera goes to 6th, pushes Hendrickson down. We are seeing Hernandez improving. Oh, but it didn't count. He went wide. Does Lemaire improve? I think he should be on a valid lap. He is, but it doesn't move him up, but it moves him closer to Hernandez. And let's check in with Clifford. He's got a couple of tenths now. That's going to go even faster, 28.38. He's planted his flag. He's saying, come and get me, guys. You know where I am. As Portis improves his personal best to 29.05. This will be his last shot at trying to either get away from Loverink or getting himself around Clifford, but that's not going to be an easy thing to do. Loverink, is this going to be enough? It's not for pole position, but less than a 10th. And this is his last lap as well. So we're trying to see Hendrickson. He's improving. Lanham's going to make it back with just enough time, and I think Fernandez will. Oh, Lanham's going to throw in the towel. He's all set. He's done. He's all set with this qualifying. He does not want to continue, but Fernandez will. So let's see who around, as Mercado's gone off. Bandera is going to start. He's going to lay a 4th flag down. Migliori will stay 15th. Sanchez is 5th. Hernandez is 6th. Wilson goes to 4th. Hendrickson all over the place. Probably connection, but also probably just losing the car a little bit. He has a massive amount of time and goes right to pole position. 400th faster than Clifford. And Clifford has thrown the lap. He doesn't want it. He couldn't get it. But Hendrickson, last second push, and it does work. Pocket, I believe, improves as well, up to 13th. Unless I am mistaken. All that's left is Fernandez. Does the 26 have it in him to get this position, to get around Rasco? He's just got to find a 10th, but he's got half a second right now. This could put him in the top 5 at the 50 board. Oh, I don't think he's gonna get up as high as he would have liked. Power down on exit. Will he go higher? Across the line and gets into the top 5, just barely ahead of Wilson. 0.03 of a second. And the rain starts to fall here at the Red Bull Ring. I know the AP guys had a little bit of questioning as to whether or not the rain would make an appearance. And here in North America, it has. So why not take another look at the starting grid? If you guys want to take a look at the mirror in super low quality, there you go. But we're going to get ready for race number 2 here. 30 minutes on the clock, mandatory stop. Same rules as last time. But now the field's looking a little bit different. Last time we saw Jean Alesi Esports Lamborghini on pole position, it was Loverink. And that was last season. But this time around, it's going to be his teammate, William Hendrickson. That was not the button I wanted to hit. That was. Fixed it. But yes, it is Hendrickson on pole. Loverink in position 3. So both JAE drivers. 1 and 3. The odd positions. Clifford there, left side of your screen. It'll be position 2. He did it last time. Why not do it again? Tortoise, 4th. Pretty consistent stuff from the Honda. And then it's Fernandez there in 5th position with a little bit of a line of McLarens. Fernandez, Wilson, Bandera there in the 69, and Sanchez on your left in the 21. Then it's Hernandez in the 888 BMW. He's going to be 9th, and Rasco again rounding out our top 10. Lucas Lemaire is going to be on that 6th row with Lanham, 11 and 12th. For those two. Pocket 13th this time. Then it's going to be Nelson in 14th. Craig Migliori is 15th. Then Ondanique Stapleton will get to the back end of the 8th row. And then Waters, Mercado, and Keogh not setting a time. Because we get a little bit of earthquakes from people changing their setups. It always happens, but what are you going to do? I'll probably disable follow car. But we should be getting ready here to go live for race number 2. And it looks like the rain has stopped in the middle of setup. It has stopped, and we are seeing the cars come on. So we should be all set and ready to go here for race number 2 of the Sprint Series here at the Red Bull Ring. We might as well stick with the pole sitter. Another 30 minutes on the clock. And Hendrickson will lead us away. Clifford's got to do it again. He's going to try to find a way to get around a car like this with a livery like that. And he's got the same amount of time and the exact same parameters for the pit stops. The only thing that's different is the racing surface itself. Rain right towards the end of quali, and it's made that track very wet. The clouds are going to stick around. Rain again in 30 minutes. With how long the parade lap is, we should be seeing that rain come in just before the checkered flag. Although it could come sooner than that. If you also take into account the setup time. So it should be, yeah, probably at the very least just before the checkered flag falls, and probably at most likely a few minutes. So this will be a wet tire race. And those pit stop checklist items exactly the same. You have that 25-second mandatory stationary period, and it's just fuel. Nothing has been changed. These drivers know what is being asked of them. And we should be going side by side here, the whole field. Lemaire just outside the top 10 here to start. Can he get around Rasco and hang on? And in the wet, it's going to be a lot trickier. You got to be careful, especially into turn 1. Not saying we'll be seeing anything, because I know the powers that I possess, and I gotta make sure I don't use them for evil. These drivers are ready. 19 on the grid, 30 on the clock. So it'll be another 20-lap race. And we are getting up to that final corner. Will we see a quick change for the lead? If we do, can Clifford make it work? And look at that, the sun's coming out, it's peeking through the clouds. How much is this going to dry the track? It's 22 ambient, 29 on the surface, barely a breeze at all. But folks, race number 2 is underway, and it is going to be your top 4 getting the best start possible. Now we go into turn number 1. It's going to be very different breakpoints than what the drivers are used to. Both Lamborghinis come together, parting the Italian Sea, and that does give Loverink exactly what he was looking for. Clifford and Hendrickson all the way down the field they go, and now Wilson in a little 5-pack here. This is the battle for second. It's Sanchez, Portis, Rasco, Fernandez, Banderas getting in on this, Lanham as well. Clifford trying to recover as best he can. And as we head through, Loverink has taken the lead again. He barely had to work for it. Side by side, Rasco on the inside of Fernandez does get the job done, and I think Keogh also did the same on Nelson. Keogh getting a great little start here, up into 12. Not the best qualifying for him, but he's got plenty of time to, well, make amends. Look at Loverink already pulling out a massive gap, and if you're Clifford, that is terrible, terrible news. Because that man is going to get away, and you are in second place in the standings, behind by 78 points. He needs some absolutely massive results if he wants to challenge Loverink for the crown. There's only 2 rounds to go this season. Of course, formats will be different, but I'm fairly certain the last race will be another super sprint, and if I'm not wrong, that should be at the Mount Panorama circuit, as we had somebody off. I didn't see who that was. Oh, it was Nelson. Oh, he is just not having a good time right now. So he is, we'll leave him to his own devices. Portis with Wilson, a little bit of contact there, a nudge to maybe just get him off of him. And Rasco now doing the same. Both McLarens, a little bit of touching there, a little bit of trading paint. We'll go with Fernandez here. Spray still being kicked up, track going to damp, and more contact between these two. Rasco using tackle, and it's super effective there on Wilson, as 4th place is usurped. Now with the sun out, the track damp, and the temperatures we got, we could be seeing a slick tire track soon. Hernandez, there's Keogh in tow. Still side by side. Fernandez starting to get a little bit icy with Wilson. We'll see what the call is from both of these guys. What's the defensive move? What's the offensive move? They both are playing a longer game. There's Sanchez just exiting the screen. Rasco with Portis. Defensive line to turn 1, the 84. But the over-under may work in Rasco's favor, as these two going to be giving each other a little bit of a wave here. Slightly shorter line there for the 135. And that should give him the position, but does he hold on to it into the corner? More touches coming through here. Portis, oh, I think he wanted to give him a little bit of a return, but decided better of it. These two still locked arm in arm. You can see more contact. Portis tried to turn in, but there was a big old McLaren in the way. Wilson is lurking. Fernandez as well, and you could even pin Lanham in that as well, as Portis gets very much off the throttle very early. But does that end up working in his favor? I don't think it does. Although Rasco is a little loose, that tail stepping out, trying to get it under control, and he does. And he wants this badly, Portis. Lanham also looking there, and he does make contact. It was a questionable move, and Fernandez spins around right on the racing line. Everybody's going past, thankfully avoiding. Go back. Lanham on the inside. I don't think that was malicious. I think that was just misjudgment, if anything. And oh, Hendrickson very close there. So we'll see if there's a post-race penalty dished out to Lanham for that one. As we have... Is that Fernandez? That is Fernandez. Fernandez is just... Oh boy, he is in a whole world of hurt right now. He is just hemorrhaged positions down to 15th. After such a good race one. He may be starting to look towards next week after this turn of events. This race is a lot calmer than it was before. We'll check in with Pocket, who has actually gotten around Waters, although it is the 62. He may not give it up that easily. He may try to get back around, but I don't think so. No, he's probably not as confident. He might still be on a dry setup, as he is releasing and braking very early. A lot more earlier than he should. Rasco's coming in for his first stop. Is this the call for dry tires? Does he feel as though that is a good idea? Hendrickson's come in. Nelson has come in. Bandera and Migliori are both in. Now, if you look at the side of the tire, there's nothing on it. There was no yellow, no nothing. Nelson, so that if there's nothing there, that means it's a wet tire. But if you see the Pirelli yellows as Migliori goes backwards for some reason, okay, he should be on those slick tires. Fernandez, and yeah, this might be everybody going on to dries. Mercado, oh god, Mercado has had quite the contact with something, not certain what it was. Migliori has gotten a drive-through for track limits. So off the jacks is Nelson. You can see, yeah, you can just see the Pirelli logos on the side. So they are on slicks. But did they pull the trigger too early, or was it timed perfectly? That will be the question. You gotta be careful. Your cars are not ghosted at this point. You can see that there's still a bit of moisture. You got the lights bouncing off the surface. So this is going to be a very tricky call for all of these guys. Hernandez comes in. Lanham's coming in as well. Does Lovrink? Lovrink stays out. Same with Sanchez, Portis, Wilson, Clifford, Keogh. Stapleton's going in. Lemaire staying out. Pocket's staying in. Or Pocket's staying out, rather. Same with Waters. And I believe Rasco is... Oh, no, Rasco's already done his pit stop. So the only people that we are expecting is 1st through 6th, then 8th and 10th, and 12th. And then 19th as well. Well, this is going to shake things up quite a lot. Track's gone greasy. That dryer line is a lot more pronounced now. And a stop-go 30 for Mercado, speeding in the pit lane. Will be the reason for that. Looks like Migliori's coming in to serve his drive-through. Unless he's going for a pit stop, then it won't clear it, because you have to do those separately. Clifford is starting to reel these two in. These guys are sticking on the wets as long as they feel comfortable with. And Wilson and Clifford are both going in. Loverink's gone in. So has Sanchez. Your top two are going to be changing over. This wet's starting to lose effectiveness. Looks like Migliori has cleared it and gets his 30-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane. That is the most unfortunate thing ever. I feel so bad. You hate to see it. He's off on the grass. I think we may be bidding adieu to the number 11. But Portis has taken the lead of this race just because he has decided to stay out. So has Keogh and Pocket and Waters. We have lost Migliori, an early exit for the 11. It's unfortunate, but that's how it's going to go for him. He's going to look forward to next week, try and right his wrongs. Lovrink now out of the box rather, and coming out of pit lane. Bandera clearing his stop. There's Sanchez. You see Clifford at the front of the lane, and Mercado has come in. He wants to get this stop go 30 done. Sure that he was well and truly slowed down by the time he got there. Lemaire has come in. Portis, we'll see if he decides to switch over. Same with Keogh, Pocket, and Waters. Oh yeah, Portis is off on the side. He is getting ready to come into the pit lane. He's going to stick there, so that should be that. Looks like Keogh doesn't want to. Oh, no, he's not. He wants to make this setup work as long as possible. Bandera's been in the pit for a while. I wonder if this isn't him pitting and him having a mechanical issue with his setup or something to that. I don't know. And Waters staying out as well. So, Lovrink, the effective leader, once Keogh and Pocket come in, unless they can somehow open up a gap that not even Lovrink can overcome. Yellow flag out on circuit, wondering who it was. It's the 510 of Lemaire. Doesn't look like there's any damage. He may have just parked it up for some reason or another. So we'll leave him be. Oh, Waters has actually decided to come in. Pocket and Keogh. Only two. And Keogh is catching up to some traffic. That's Stapleton ahead in the 35 Ferrari. That's close. That's a little bit too close for my liking. Thankfully, both of these guys figuring it out last second. Better late than never. This is starting to be a race for position. Rasco having to defend 9th from Hendrickson. How close is the 757? He is right there. Slipstream probably not giving too much of an advantage. Portis as well having a pretty good gap to Wilson. Same, actually a smaller gap than Clifford to himself. Rasco may end up losing this position. A lot of extra speed from the hole that's being punched by the 135 on the inside, and it is going to be contact. Around goes Rasco, and Hendrickson drives off into the afternoon sun. That may also be a post-race penalty. We have Pocket. He's in the pit lane. Oh, did he get it slowed down in time? I'm not certain. So Keogh has opted to stay out as long as he can. The track has gone fast. I almost wonder. I want to check. Keogh's been on dries this whole time. That might be the actual biggest brain play. Suffer on a track that isn't that bad, and then come in and grab fuel? He could come in right now and it wouldn't be a problem. There may be enough of a gap to Love Rank, but Keogh might be dicing a little bit with Lady Luck, because he is staying out for quite a while. Might just be splitting this race in half. But here's the problem. The longer you stay out, the closer Love Rank's going to get to you. It's not going to be noticeable, but you may notice he's a lot closer when you finally get that pit stop cleared. So we're going to see if he can make this work and pick up a win. But I'm not certain if he can. That's the problem. Because even if he stays, or even if he, stays ahead after his pit stop, he still has, well, depending on when he comes in, it could be anywhere from right now to 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever it's going to be. He's going to have to hold on for that long. Because Love Rank is rapid right now. Doesn't have fastest lap. It's actually Sanchez that has fastest lap that he just clocked in, although this is a better bit of track. So a 129.32, and if you look at the forecast, folks, 10 minutes, the rain's coming down, so the last 4 minutes or so, I don't think will have too much of an effect on the conditions, although depending, it seems to be pretty light, so I don't think it's going to be absolutely downpouring. Keogh, I don't know whether to commend him or question his tactics. He's definitely getting a bit greedy, I think. But he is, I mean, if we open the track map, there is absolutely nobody. I mean, look at where Love Rank is, the 52. He's just started Sector 3. So he could come in as late as he would like. Let's join Hernandez, as he has Hendrickson right behind him. Hendrickson's got to be careful. He doesn't want to cop possibly another penalty for what he did not too long ago. Love Rank now gets fastest lap with a 28.92, which is just a little bit under half a second quicker than Keogh. Hernandez, looks like him and Hendrickson are really struggling both ways. But a lot of speed on exit. The 888, so that gap, half a second, could drop lower if he's not careful. Love Rank getting around some back markers. That's Mercado. And I believe he'll have another one. Actually, he might not have any blue flags in front of him. Oh, he's got a lot of blue flags, actually. And Keogh staying out. Because, of course. I'm just curious as to when he's coming in. It's a 20-lap race. We're halfway, just about. Or actually, it's going to be less than 20 because of the wet conditions we had on the start. So we're probably looking at maybe 18 or so. And again, that rain's coming here in 10 minutes. And Hendrickson, in the meantime, throws it around the outside of Hernandez. Just looking at that last little bit we caught, I think Hernandez may have gotten a little bit awkward on exit. And that was all Hendrickson needed to get around. Stapleton trying to reel Pocket in, but it's not the easiest. His lap was just about a second slower. So we check back in. Oh, the clouds, I think, are starting to come in. That track's looking a little bit darker. Yes, it is. We are about 7 minutes from rain. And Keogh is 11.5 from victory, but he's got to clear that pit stop. He absolutely needs to get that out of his way if he wants to not get a massive 2-minute, 10-second penalty. And now the clouds are officially here. It looks like in the meantime, Bandera has tapped out of this race. He is... looked like he got into a bit of an incident with Clifford. I think we saw that at the start, so that's why he has been in the pits for as long as he has. So we'll see a very lengthy end to this race, but it is a lot calmer now. It has been very, very quiet here in Austria. But for Keogh, it has been smooth sailing so far. Your second place opponent has just started another lap about 10 seconds ago. Although I'm not certain that you have been making the smartest decision, because Keogh just put in his best lap with a 28.98, which is pretty good. The problem is Loverink just did a 28.57. And you have about 37 seconds. So Keogh may not be racing for the win. I think what he may be doing is looking to stay within the top 5. Or maybe he's just seeing how far he can go and then pit at the last possible second. But this has been slowly withering away. He has not been very successful in keeping that gap as healthy as he would have liked. And speaking of gaps, it's Hernandez, who has been losing loads of time to Hendrickson. I mean, last lap was just over a second slower. Hendrickson in 7th position right now. There is Pocket just at the top of shot. Pocket down in 12th, actually. So he's doing pretty well for himself. Let's take a look at everybody. So we got Keogh up at the front. Loverink's in 2nd. He knows he'll probably get that position by the time Keogh comes into the pits. Sanchez in P3 trying to get Loverink close, but just about 8 seconds separates them. Clifford as well, with slightly less time, almost 6 to go, or 6 between himself. Sanchez, you can just see him up the field a little bit. Portis as well, in shot as well. Can see his rival driver, Wilson, in a much better position. Hendrickson getting on by. Hernandez as well in a similar situation with being able to actually see the guy he's chasing down. Rasco is in sort of a world of his own. The problem is Lanham wants to lay claim to that world. And also in the spot of being able to see that same guy, and Fernandez as well. Craig Pocket just starting his next lap here as he's going to be crossing that line, 12th position. Ondanique Stapleton in 13th behind. Also probably being able as Waters and Lemaire come together. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This was actually a battle for 14th. So it looks like there was a little bit of mistrust. Neither driver really knowing who's going where. Waters goes well up the inside, right back onto the line, not where Lemaire is expecting. And Waters just getting punted. So he'll be down in 15th, and Lemaire is in 14th. Could be seeing a post-race penalty for that one. Patrick Nelson having a rough start. Is in 16th. You can see Keogh right behind him. He is going to be getting blue flagged here. very shortly. So should be getting out of the way. Keo. Is this Keo coming into the pit lane finally with 7 minutes to go? Yes, it is. So we'll see where he comes out. He's in first right now. But we'll see what the number is going to look like when we get there. Nathan Mercado in 17th. Very tranquil race for him. It hasn't been all that exciting. Just some blue flagging, but that's okay. It's a good skill to learn as he gets a little bit loose. Almost spins out. Yeah, getting your blue flag time in is something I think everybody should be doing. Even if you are, top of the charts, alien, hitting these world record times, you should at least practice it just in case, because you never know. But he'll let Hendrickson through. Of course, Joel Bandera, who has been in the pits since lap number 1, is still there. Will not be seeing the end. Loverink has retaken the lead. Sanchez has gotten his position back. There's Keo coming out of the pit lane now. Clifford will go into third. Does Portis get anything out of this? It may be close, but he might have it on exit. He does? No, he's side by side actually, and here comes the rain. So for the next 5 minutes, it is going to rain. Portis has now gotten around Keo. I think, yeah, Keo is not on dries. He is on dries. I don't think he's on wets is what I meant. It looks like it. I am going to check because I don't trust myself. He is on dries. So Keo is in 5th, could have 4th. But that is not going to be an easy task. Especially at this stage of the game. 5 minutes to go here at the Red Bull Ring. There was some heavier rain, but it's not going to be a factor when we actually do get to the checkered flag. So Loverink takes the lead of the race. And we'll be looking to make it 2 for 2 here tonight at the Red Bull Ring here in Austria, and then we will be back next week. Oh, Keo is getting pretty quick now. I think he's figuring out a bit of a line. The track conditions starting to worsen though. It's gone to greasy. We could be seeing a damp track or maybe even a wet track by the end of this. 17 cars clearing the way as best as they can. But Keo is very much all over the Honda there of Portis. It's one thing to catch up, another thing to pass. I've said it before, I will say it again. And Lemaire actually starting to come under fire right now. Stapleton's been catching up slowly but surely. And I believe behind them, that's Loverink. Flashing the lights saying, get out of the way, I've got a thing to do, and you're not helping. But it's going to happen here at the straightaway. Stapleton, Lemaire's getting a little bit crazy. Loverink's gotten around 1. Flashing the headlights again. Lemaire is gonna lift into the corner, but he's gotta be careful. Both of these guys do, almost grabbing Loverink, and I believe Lemaire's gone. Oh, I thought he went around for a second. He didn't. Stapleton actually got that done. So let's take a look. So he's on the inside. It's a little bit too much. Oh. Almost spinning around fully, but Stapleton says, no problem, you are not using that position. So now it is Lemaire with 2.5 minutes to try and regain this position. Is it gonna be possible? We'll check back in with Portis. We're probably gonna be stuck here for a while. Pockets off the road. What in the world happened to him? Let's take a look. I don't know, but if I had to bet on it, probably just got a little bit too wide on the exit. Whether it be watery curbs or maybe just the gravel. Giving him a helping hand. He's down in 14th. And Lemaire is back on to Stapleton. So despite the spin, or the almost spin, he hasn't given up. The track is damp. This is not the conditions you want. He's going to look to the inside. Stapleton's going to outbrake. And that should give the 510 exactly what he needed. And he can drive off up the hill and into position 12 once again. We are going to be having one more lap after this. So Portis still a lot of road to cover off. You can see just how much these two have switched up their driving styles to reflect the weather. If there's any buttons or anything set for changing traction control, it's definitely been being flicked a little bit. And right behind them is Hendrickson. Has been slowly creeping in. But he is going to be very late to this party, and Keogh has actually dropped some time as well. So for Portis, he may get to breathe easier for one lap. Oh, Stapleton now. Pocket. Pocket's starting to show a little bit of racecraft as our helicopter crashes. Sanchez ahead. What can Stapleton do against this attack? Pocket will look on the inside. Does not go for a move. And they both run very, very wide. Clifford is going to be getting those blue flags. Wave to those ahead. Pocket is very much well and truly off the circuit there. And I think Stapleton should be just lifting. And will. Clifford goes through. Clifford right now still in third. This will be a final lap for everybody. Pocket's chance at gaining 13th have unfortunately been swept away by the currents here in Austria. The weather being a factor. When we check back in with the race leader, Skylar Lovrink. Started third. His teammate and Clifford got together, parted the sea, and the field went through. And Lovrink, right place, right time, has not looked back at all. It is going to be 2 wins in a row for the 52. That is going to be win number 5, I believe, this season. And into the final corner for the very last time here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Skylar Lovrink. 2 30-minute races under his belt. Both of those are going to see him on the top step of the podium. And by quite a massive margin compared to the first race. Sanchez, though, is going to be very happy with a P2 finish. Lemaire ahead of him goes 12th best. And behind Clifford, still a great drive there from his tumble at the start. From second to third. Portis has held off Keogh for 4th. It is 5th for the Aston Martin. Hendrickson comes home in 6th position. Not what he would have wanted. Started on pole and fell down to 6th. And then we have Hernandez. This will be 7th for the BMW. Behind him is Andrew Wilson. And then it's the Bricks Racing McLaren of Rasco for 9th. And then Fernandez, another McLaren, will be rounding out the top 10. And we look to Lanham also coming through that final corner. We'll have to settle for 11th. Of course, we had Lemaire, who has finished already. Same with Stapleton. Pocket, Waters, and Nelson will be the last of the field to cross the finish line Oh, and Mercado as well. I completely forgot about him. My apologies, friend. So it will be Mercado who will be the last one to cross the finish line here at the Red Bull Ring. And ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for us here tonight. 2 races cleared out. And now we saddle up and get ready for the penultimate round of the season. We're heading to Indianapolis, not for the 500, but for 60 minutes of racing. And after that, it is going to be the final race of the season, which is just going to be another 60-minute race at, where else? Mount Panorama. Come on, it's an Australian organization. Where else are we going to race? But let's take a look at the results. So, overall for race number 1, it's going to be Loverink, Clifford, Portis, Keogh, Wilson, Fernandez, Hendrickson, Hernandez, Bandera, and Rasco rounding out your top 10. The Pro-Ams, it's Fernandez, Hernandez, and Pocket. The Amateurs sees Migliori take top spot ahead of Stapleton. And for Silvers, Bandera, Sanchez, Lanham, Nelson, Mercado, and Waters. Race 2, though. Loverink does it again with a first place finish and fastest lap. We'll get an extra bonus point for that. As always, then Sanchez, Clifford, Portis, Keogh, Hendrickson, Hernandez, Wilson, Rasco, and Fernandez. Was that Lanham missing out on another top 10? He did. Pro-Ams, Hernandez, Fernandez, and Pocket. Slightly different from race number 1. The Amateurs, Stapleton this time, deciding that Migliori should take second overall in the red classification. And then for the Silvers, Sanchez, Lanham, Waters, Nelson, Mercado, and unfortunately Bandera did not see the checkered flag. Lap 1 incident is going to spell the end of his night. Of course, before we get out of here, folks, one final shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 17 of the Sprint Series. Melbourne, Australia's finest in sim racing gear has got you covered. You're looking to upgrade, maybe someone's birthday's coming up, anniversary, whatever it may be. They have got pretty much everything you need. Wheels, bases, pedals, shifters, gloves. I'm surprised they don't have socks. They might have socks. They might have just added them. I don't know. But if you're in Australia or New Zealand, you guys are ordering things like you order anywhere else. But if you're like me or anybody else here in North America or anybody not in those 2 countries, well, send them an email. Tell them what's going on. Let them know. And I'm sure they'd be happy to give you some of their business. And of course, if you guys are supporting this organization via Patreon, which of course, thank you so much for doing that. We appreciate you. You are going to be getting a 5% discount off your purchases. So I would say take advantage of that. But folks, we are out of here for tonight. Next week, Indianapolis, and then the week after, Mount Panorama, and that'll send us into the break. I promise I will have the assets for next time. I forgot to message Mullen, but that's okay. We made do with what we had. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay, and hope you enjoyed the show here tonight. But folks, as always, stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you in the next one.